Hi everyone, this is my workplace communication project proposal, and this is my summary sheet. So first off, departments are purchasing IT equipment that is not well suited for the corporate data centers, and that can be on a cooling, power, or layout basis. The data center team is not being consulted prior to the purchase, so we are not able to give our expertise to maybe make a better purchase. Departments are not sharing plans with other departments. Due to the size of the organization, we tend to get very siloed, and departments don't talk to each other, and we don't plan appropriately for new hardware coming in. There's no architectural standard or review process, and that's part of what I'm looking to do here is create a guide that gives an architectural standard, and then when a review process is created, they can use my architectural standard guide as reference for the equipment. Now for a little background, this is for a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania based healthcare organization founded in 1893, originally with one hospital at that time, but now it's up to 40 hospitals and around 100,000 employees. The client for this project is the individual engineers on the server, storage, and network teams. These are the people that are purchasing the hardware. The hardware decisions affect patient care, and when I say that, I mean that poor decisions can affect the reliability of that hardware, and if that hardware is not reliable, it can affect the applications that run the inpatient care, your outpatient care, your imaging, all the different applications that are used to provide excellent patient care. And lastly, purchases are being made by vendor recommendations. What I mean by that is that vendors are saying for this given application, here's the hardware that we recommend for it. Now this hardware may not be the newest hardware in the world, so we may not get the lifespan on it, or it may not be easily cooled or reliably powered. We have to keep in mind that vendors may not have our best interest at heart, and they may be just trying to sell us a bill of goods that isn't conducive to excellent, reliable patient care. For the objectives for this project, number one is obviously to create the new hardware architecture guide. I will section this guide for easy reference, and you can see here on the right the sections I plan to have, with cooling, power, and layout being the main sections, and then having subsections for servers and storage. Those are similar, so I'll section those together, and then switches and routers. The reason I'm doing that is because each one of those situations have different needs for cooling, power, and layout. Ultimately, I want to give engineers ammunition to go back to their vendors and say that, hey, this doesn't meet our architectural standard and we should get X, Y, and Z to have more reliable hardware. Additionally, we want to create an architectural review board for any new equipment, and this standard guide would be a reference material for that architectural board to use. Now for the scope of the project, this includes only hardware within the corporate data centers. I will be referencing often ASHRAE TC 9.9, the Data Center Environmental Guide, and what this will give me is the industry specs for how cold a server needs to be and reliable power and all of the environments around a server to have a reliable system. So instead of me just saying that we need to be reliable for patient care, I can have this industry standard ASHRAE guide that'll say, hey, this is what you need to be reliable. And when somebody purchases hardware that won't allow us to meet that ASHRAE standard, that presents an issue. Now in this guide, I will have a table of contents for those sections so that an engineer can quickly reference what problem they're trying to solve and for their piece of equipment. And lastly, I want to use the existing architectural guide that the architect team uses for other standards out there, such as when a new application is purchased for the organization, they have a very thorough guide that they use to prove or disprove that it meets the standard. And this will have a similar visual appeal and the same logos and standards on it, so we'll have the same backing that those other architectural guides have, and this will give it some more official stance behind it. And lastly, for the timeline on this, I plan to complete this guide relatively quickly because my manager is asking for it, because there is some movement to get the Architectural Review Board created, and this will be a great guide for them to be able to use as part of that job. So my goal is to complete the cooling and power sections next week. They are probably the most straightforward areas, so I think I can get those done the fastest. I will take the following week to work on the layout, because the layout can be a little bit more tedious to type out because of all the different various types of layouts out there and all the different concerns we have with that. I then plan the following week to give it to our data center team to review and see what they think of it. And then the following week on 10/11 Monday, we have a large data center planning meeting where we get good participation from all of the different groups that are the clients for this. And at that point, I'll present it to that group and show them this guide and see what their thoughts are, maybe make modifications or finalize it. Thank you very much.